Question. Why do we as content creators on places like YouTube, Rumble, VENMO, etc., why do we go out of our way to upscale, upconvert, maybe even remaster our original video files from the original format, resolution that it was uploaded in, to basically resolution of 4K, 8K, and if we want to test our limitations, 12K? Why do we do that? Well, I think the answer is quite simple in my opinion. We do that because we see what, movie studios, movie companies are doing with the remastering and upscaling of a lot of shows and movies from the original, let's say, 720p, 1080p, format to 4K, maybe even 8K, so that the consumer, at home, maybe even at the show, because they do have the capabilities of going 12K, can have a better picture quality experience. I think, honestly, that's why we do it. We do that because we want to basically, in a sense, try to give a better, up-to-date picture quality viewing experience to our viewers. That's why we do it. Also, the fact that a lot of households nowadays have TVs and monitors and phones and tablets that are all capable of viewing stuff in 4K, maybe even 8K. So we want to basically keep up with that, because we always hear these reports, these discussions that, when you're watching something, that's of lower resolution, on your television, that it's going to get upconverted to 4K and everything, because the signal will basically render it as such. But there might be something a little off about it, like it might be too soft, it might be too, blurry, or whatever the case may be. Now, I did do a video, as a lot of you know, where I talked about the fact that with, a 4K Blu-ray device, and even, a 4K Blu-ray, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, like device, I talked about the fact that when you play a DVD on one of those devices, that the signal that gets sent from that device to your 4K, maybe even 8K television, will tell it to upscale and upconvert the signal to 4K. And I have shown proof of that many times, to where basically it is being shown in 4K at 60 frames per second, maybe even 30 frames per second. I even did somewhat of a follow-up where I talked about the fact that if you have a device like that that's also capable of sending out HDR, that there is a good chance that, let's say you're watching YouTube or Vudu, that's VUDU, or Prime Video or whatever, that you'll be able to watch videos and movies that have not been released or upscaled to HDR in HDR, because it's still sending that signal. The only exception, of course, like let's say with a PlayStation 5, is when you put a DVD in there, and just like a Blu-ray, regular 4K Blu-ray player, it won't register it as HDR, even though I swore I saw it do that. However, what it will do, though, is give you a picture quality that seems a little cleaner than the average 4K UHD Blu-ray player, and basically, give off the ambience, if you will, give off the ambience of being shown in HDR. Because when you look at it and you compare it, it does give off that vibration. The picture mode may not have the HDR letters next to the standard natural movie and dynamic picture options, but it still feels like it's being, broadcast, if not shown to you in HDR, because of the fact that it's being played on a device that's, HDR, right off the bat as soon as you turn it on. But to get back to what I was saying, this is why I think a lot of us do this, because we know we know basically that nowadays everybody has those kind of devices. We know people have those kind of devices, TVs, Blu-rays, PlayStation 5s, Xbox, you name it, that allow them to view stuff in 4K, especially when they're connected. We know that. And like I mentioned, the signal you'll get sent in between. That's why when you're watching, let's say, YouTube on a smart TV, a 4K or 8K smart TV, it's going to tell you, something along the lines when it comes to viewport in frames, it's going to tell you 920 by 1080, asterisk 2.00 or asterisk 4.00, because it's basically telling you that it's taking that viewport in frames you're watching in that's initially 1080p and adding on 2 more, or basically adding +2 to it, if you will, or +4 to it, to kind of tell you, yeah, you're watching it in 4K or you're watching it in 8K. That's the signal it's giving off. But that's because it's coming directly from the television it's attached to, or it's installed in, if you will. It's coming directly from the smart TV that the app is installed in. But if you're viewing said app from an HDR 4K device, it's going to tell you differently. It's going to say the viewport is at 3480 by 2160, or whatever the resolution is for 8K. That's what it's going to do. So when you're somebody that sees that, and basically a lot of people have 4K, and if they can afford it, 8K televisions, then you're going to want to basically have a video or whatever your creation can be, you're going to want it in that format. I mean, I speak, one person I know that has said he could remaster, but he won't because it'd be too much, is James Rolfe. James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, AVGN, he has said on one or two occasions that he will not do that, even though he could, because he has all his files stored away. He could basically remaster them, upscale them, and everything to 4K. Or if not to a higher resolution, clean them up and stuff like that, which would be pretty cool, honestly, to see him do that. But what is he doing instead? Instead, he's just evolving with the times. When he first started, he was 360p, then 480p, then he went to 720, then he went to 1080, and now here he is at 4K. So he's just evolving. He's just basically taking all his AVGN episodes and now just recording them and rendering them in 4K so that you get a cleaner, more crisp picture the moment he uploads it. And that's why I think a lot of content creators like myself will go out of the way, to do something similar, because like James, he sees, and hears, and probably, personally himself knows that every household, as I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned it earlier, this is like my 3rd time doing this audio recording, but anyway, he knows, even from personal experience, that every home out there has a 4K television and, 4K television monitor and, tablet or device where people can view videos off YouTube and other outlets in 4K. He knows that. So why not, evolve with the times and start producing AVGN episodes in 4K? Now, is he doing all of them in 4K? No, because sometimes the longer ones, he's just going to have to deal with, or settle with, I should say, 1080p. That's what he's going to have to deal with. He's going to have to settle with 1080p because the longer the video, the more space, of course, it takes up on his computer or his storage outlet. But, we see people like James doing that. We see people like James doing that. We see people like the irate gamer, Chris Boers, doing that. And again, it's all about basically evolving with the times. It's called evolving with the times. and trying to, produce or trying to, give out the best resolution, the best quality you can. Now, again, when it comes to upscaling and upconversion, it's not going to totally clean up the picture, let's be honest. No, it's not going to totally clean up the picture, but what it's going to do is it's going to add more pixelization. And what that means by adding more pixelization is it's going to help upscale that original format to a quality that's more in tune with today's, resolutions like 4K, 8K, and so on. That's what it's going to do. Now, could there be a little smoothing out, like a little bit of a cleanup during the upscaling? Yeah, and it's noticeable, but not that much. It's just barely there, but it is noticeable. Because basically the most important thing that it's doing is saying, okay, I'm going to upscale this, image to make it feel more, or I'm going to upconvert this image to make it feel more like a video that matches up with today's standards. That's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, even with some of the video quality, like I would upload, let's say, my classic videos I did when I lived in Lawrence, Kansas. Is it going to change the overall video when I upscale it, upconvert it? No. It's just going to add more pixels and maybe clean up a little bit here and there, smooth it out a little bit here and there, but that's it. It's not going to do anything more than just upconvert and upscale to the standard it needs to be today, like 4K or 8K. And why? Because basically, if it's not upscaled to that, and it relies mainly, on, let's say, the 4K or 8K smart TV that has the app, then all you're going to get is the image, in its current optical resolution, but the viewports and frames are going to make it a little less, enjoyable. I mean, you'll still be able to view it, but it won't be so enjoyable. But if you try to match that up by upscaling it, it'll make it look a little better. And that's why some folks do it. I mean, they don't have to do it, but they do it because they realize that if they watch, a video off YouTube, of themselves or somebody else that was originally rendered and is still in, let's say, 360p or 240p or heck, even 144p, it's not going to look so well because, basically the device is being told, hey, the viewport in frames is correct, for the 4K, 8K television, but the original resolution is, way less than that, and it's going to come off a little weird. I mean, again, still viewable, but like a little weird. That's why you see a lot of people, always putting in parentheses, in parentheses, they're always, or emphasizing, not parentheses, but they're always emphasizing, basically, high quality. Anytime they say, anytime I should say, they go out, I'm trying to think about what I'm going to say here. Again, this happens a lot with a lot of people when they're doing, on camera or audio recordings, because they like to be unscripted. That's kind of how I am. But anyway, that's what a lot of people do. A lot of content creators will do. They will go out of the way and upscale, upconvert the original videos, and then in the parentheses, they will emphasize that basically you are watching this in a higher quality, or you're watching it in 4K, or you're watching it in 1080p, or you're watching it in 8K. They will say that in the parentheses, in the emphasization, of the parentheses, they will tell you that's what you're watching it in. I mean, why do you think when I do something like that, like I've done here, I will say upscaled or upgraded to 4K or 8K? Because I'm telling you that this is a video that's now viewable in 4K or in 8K. It's still the same video. Nothing really much has changed, except now you can watch it with higher resolution. and that the only thing that's been added, from what I can tell and from what I've read, is extra pixels, and that's it. Nothing more. Nothing more has been added. So that's basically, in my opinion, why a lot of us do that, because we want to basically keep up with the times. We want to give people the best quality out there. Even if, it doesn't change the video that much, what it's doing is kind of basically making the picture more tolerable than what it was. I mean, can you imagine basically when people do the 144 upscaling or upconverting? Yeah, they know the picture itself. If, let's say, it was recorded on a webcam, back in the day, they know the image is not going to come off, not the image, but the video recording is not going to change much. All that's going to be added is pixelization, added pixels to make it match up more to snuff, if you will, to what the resolutions of today are. Make it more tolerable, because if not, you'll be able to view it in 4K. You'll be able to view it in 4K, but the current and optical resolution is going to kind of like unbalance it in a way to where it's like it's viewable, as I mentioned earlier, but not so enjoyable, if you know what I mean. So that's why I think people upscale and upconvert. That's why I think they use softwares like Adobe Premiere and Cyber Power Director, or they use free outlets like online-convert.com. They use them because they want to basically make sure that the original video that was originally, rendered and uploaded in 144p to potentially 720p, if not 480p, is now matching up to standards, and is a lot more legible and viewable with today's resolutions than they were originally when they got uploaded. That's pretty much how I see it. Now, these are just my opinions. This is just from what I've seen, from what I've heard and stuff. But yeah, these are just my opinions. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on the whole, upscaling, upconverting deal of taking original video formats that were rendered originally in like 480p down to 144p. Give me your thoughts on upscaling them to something of the 2160p, if not higher. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere.